Welcome aspirants, and in this today's prelims high yield topic discussion, and especially with respect to polity, we'll be discussing about the fundamental duties chapter in just 8 summarized questions, and these 8 summarized questions are going to completely subsume the entire fundamental duties chapter. So without any further ado, let's begin. So as you already know the drill, first we will read out the questions and then we will try and discuss the answers for it. So the first question, are rights and duties of citizens considered correlative and inseparable? From where was this idea borrowed? What role did Swaran Singh committee play in introducing fundamental duties? Which recommendations were not accepted? Enumerate the fundamental duties under Article 51A, which is the latest duty added. Do fundamental duties apply to foreigners? Are they justiciable in nature? Fifth question, what are the major criticisms of fundamental duties? Sixth one, what is the significance of fundamental duties? Seventh one, what did the Verma Committee 1999 observe regarding fundamental duties? And eighth question, why were fundamental duties added to the Constitution in the first place? So the answers, although we are going to discuss, I want to give it to you right away that fundamental duties, although it looks like a very simple chapter because it's a very small chapter, one of the most smallest chapter in the entire polity, Lakshmikant, but still one of the trickiest questions, especially if it has to be made, they can make it from the fundamental duties because the philosophical touch with respect to the balance between the rights and duties, what is important, is it the right that matters the most or is the duties, and the correlation between rights and duties, right? And if UPSC is asking these kind of questions, I'm pretty sure it is very difficult for a beginner to handle those kind of questions unless they have a political science background, a core background, right? So please make sure any chapter that you read, especially anything that talks about the philosophical part of the Constitution, please make sure that you slightly dive deeper into those minute keywords. Like for example, in this case, fundamental duties chapter, the very word duty is a very huge and a humongous word which holds a lot of meaning and a lot of essence in the political science field, and even for that matter rights. So what is important? Fundamental duties, fundamental rights, because see, if we have to discuss about the Indian Constitution itself, the Constitution makers, when they were drafting the Indian Constitution, they did not think of the necessity that they need something called as duties, right? Rather, we had DPSPs. DPSPs, they are the rules and regulations, or let's say those are the duties on the state. The duties as to what states should follow in terms of how they perform, how they function. We kept a DPSP. The constitutional makers kept a DPSP. But for citizens, there was nothing, right? There was nothing, no duties for citizens. And hence, the initial constitution lacked it. So, initial constitution did not have fundamental duties in the first place. Rather, it was like over a period of time, after so many years, that it got added through an amendment. So now, definitely you have to think as to what was the need to add the fundamental duties later. And why did the constitutional makers think that it is like absolutely not required? Of course, that is where the philosophical part kicks in, right? So there are few things which you have to keep in mind, that especially reading or handling these kind of chapters, you need not just study the subject or study the chapter, let's say by mugging up all the facts and details, but also get inside the concepts as well. Okay. So we will pretty much try and understand all the philosophical part in this 8 questions as well. Anyway, let's start. Are rights and duties of citizens considered correlative and inseparable? See, this is the kind of question that I was talking about. From where was this idea borrowed? And the answer is yes. The philosophy of the Constitution views that rights and duties are complementary in nature. One cannot exist meaningfully without the other, which means it expects that one who enjoys being in a society, or let's say one who enjoys his rights, also has to have certain duties that he has to function in order to make sure that he is also contributing for the society where he is living, right? So rights and duties are complementary, are correlative, right? So we cannot say that only rights are important. because rights are definitely important to safeguard the well-being, or let's say safeguard the right of the individual citizen, but also what is he contributing to the society where he is living, and that is where the duties come into the picture, right? So rights and duties both are important, and rights and duties are complementary to each other. One cannot exist meaningfully without the other. So this idea is rooted in the socialist constitutional philosophy that we have implemented, and fundamental duties were inspired by the constitution of the former USSR. So where did we take this from? It was from the former USSR, and the underlying principle is what citizens must contribute to society while enjoying the rights. Okay, I hope it is clear. Second question: what role did Swaran Singh Committee play in introducing fundamental duties? Which recommendations were not accepted? So Swaran Singh Committee, it was that time during the Congress rule when the Swaran Singh Committee was put forth, and the Swaran Singh Committee recommended adding a list of duties. Based on its report, fundamental duties were inserted after introducing or after enacting the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. And there were, a lot of recommendations were given by Swaran Singh Committee. Many of them were not accepted, right? And few of them are, the duty to pay taxes, compulsory taxes, provision for punishment penalty for non-performance of duties. Let's say there are list of duties, like let's say you have to maintain harmony and peace, and also we have to respect the national flag, right? There are list of fundamental duties, and if one who doesn't follow that, the Swaran Singh Committee had recommended punishment and penalties as well, right? So these are some of the things which the government back that time did not agree for, right? These recommendations were not approved for that matter. So which are those? Duty to pay taxes, provision for punishment, right? And also there are a few more lists which are given in the Lakshmikant. Please go check them as well. Enumerate the fundamental duties under Article 51A, which is the latest duty added. So basically there are 11 fundamental duties. Respect Constitution, national flag. These are some of the few which is very important. National anthem. Cherish ideals of freedom struggle. Uphold sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country. Defend the country when need. Promote harmony and brotherhood. Preserve composites culture. Protect environment. Develop scientific temper and spirit of inquiry. Safeguard public property and abjure violence. Strive for excellence. Provide opportunities for children, or let's say for education, especially to children within the age of 6 to 14. So now if you see, all these are the duties of the citizens. It's not the duties of the state, but it is the duty of the citizens which you have to keep in mind. And which was the latest? The clause K, which says opportunities for the children for the right to education 6 to 14 years old. And which amendment? 86th Amendment Act 2002, which puts forth this duty on the parents and also the guardians regarding educating their children. Fourth question: do fundamental duties apply to foreigners? Very important. And are they justiciable? The answer is absolutely no, because it is only applicable to the citizens of India, and they are non-justiciable. Means courts cannot directly enforce them, but Parliament on the other hand can make laws to enforce these duties, right? So then after, the courts can uphold it through judicial review. Right. Fifth question: what are the major criticisms of fundamental duties? So one is, it is non-justiciable, because see, we are talking about all of these important duties which has to be followed by the citizens of India, like be it respecting the constitution, national flag, even protecting environment, right? Because if you see, these are the things for which the country is still striving, to be perfect, right? Or if not to be perfect, at least to be the best compared to what it was before. But if these duties, or let's say when these duties gets violated, it is not even justiciable, right? So that is one of the biggest drawback. Means there is no direct enforcement unless Parliament makes law on it. Next is, some duties are very vague, right? Like it talks about some of the things which are very vague. For example, talking about having the scientific temper, excellence, and all of those things. And then no clear prioritization or guidance. So priorities are not made in all of these duties, and there are no clear guidance as to how the state can also ensure that these duties are being followed. Of course, they have clearly said Parliament can make law, but also doesn't essentially mean that for all of these duties to be followed, Parliament should every time make a new law, right? So there are no clear guidance even for the citizens as well, right? The civic sense or the citizens or whatever, we're talking about what is required for the citizens, that absolutely is lacking. Next question: what is the significance of fundamental duties? First, you have to keep in mind it is to promote civic responsibility and discipline. Second, serve as moral obligations for the citizens, not the state. UPSC can twist it, can give you state. The answer is wrong, because people, you might have only focused on this word moral obligation. Moral obligation on the state is given by what? It is the DPSP. But moral obligation for the citizens, it is the fundamental duties. And it helps courts to interpret laws and constitutional provisions, strengthen national unity and patriotism, provide reminder that democracy requires active participation. Active participation from whom? From the citizens as well. Through what? Through performing their rightful duties. Next question: what did the Verma Committee 1999 observe regarding fundamental duties? Well, the Justice J.S. Verma Committee 1999 examined how duties can be operationalized, and it identified existing laws that reflect fundamental duties. Yes, so it identified existing laws that reflect how these fundamental duties can be operationalized. So, first is Prevention of Insults to National Honor Act, Protection of Civil Rights Act, Environment Protection Laws, Representation of the People's Act. So, basically, all of these laws which were enacted, which pretty much reflects how fundamental duties are being made, that it is incorporated into the Indian law. So, conclusion: duties already have indirect legal backing through statutes, right? So, all of these are some of the important examples. Next one: why were fundamental duties added to the Constitution? Answer: counterbalance the fundamental rights, because we have fundamental rights, but now we need something to counterbalance the fundamental rights, so we have the fundamental duties. Next, promote national discipline after internal disturbances, encourage citizens to contribute to nation building, and strengthen unity and integrity, and reflect constitutional morality, right? So I hope all these 8 questions have pretty much covered the entire fundamental duties, at least those important, very, very important for the examination. Anyway, that's all for this particular video. Signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.